Lincoln was trying to make a point, but the listener was unconvinced and stubborn. So Lincoln tried a different idea, and he said to the gentleman, "How many legs does a cow have?" Kind of disgusted reply came back, 4, of course. And Lincoln agreed. That's right. Now suppose we call the tail a leg. Then how many legs would the cow have? And the opponent replied kind of confidently at that point, 5, of course. And Lincoln came back and said, "Now there's where you're wrong. Calling a cow's tail a leg doesn't make it a leg. Just because you say it doesn't make it true. Just because you hear it on TV doesn't make it true. Just because you see it on your computer doesn't make it true. Just because you read it somewhere in a sacred text written by a sacred teacher doesn't make it true." Well, then how am I supposed to know what to do? Who's going to tell me? No, I actually have that in my talk here somewhere. It says, "Don't look at me, I'm not telling you." But, just the same, I didn't say don't read sacred text. I didn't say don't study things that are going on in the world. I didn't say to just throw it all away and forget about it. What I said is, it just doesn't make it true. Remember, we're the ones that make everything mean whatever we make it mean anyway. But what is important is that we determine for ourselves what is true. You see, everyone along the way of life, since the beginning of time, had their reasons for what they said or what they wrote or what they taught. And everyone who has adopted those reasons and called them the truths that they own have had a reason too. Obviously, wisdom has come from many people, many places around the world, over a very long period of time. And obviously, it's different for us, or there wouldn't still be an argument over who's right. So, there are people who believe Hinduism and Christianity, and there are people who believe nothing of any of those things. There are people who believe that yoga is the path to enlightenment. They believe all kinds of different things. So, everybody's right, because when you believe it, it makes it right. It makes it right for you in that moment. And so, most of us even go around spouting off things that we say we believe that we don't, actually. But we say we do because we wish we did. And we say we do because someone thought we should. And then so we thought we should. But what is important is that we decipher out and that we know that we're choosing to believe what we believe because we've chosen it. And not because my best friend believes that, or because I like all these people so much and they believe that, or because I'm scared not to believe that. There's the one. And that's it. We need to know our motivation. What experience, what intuition, what fear, what is it that has motivated us along the way to be at the place we are now, to believe the things we believe right now? For example, I've always been sort of really insane about the way Jesus was abused by Christianity. And I never knew why. Until I went to Roger and he said, "Oh, I see the Crusades all around you." Yeah. Oh, yay. Well, I figured I was either one of those nice people or I was a victim of one of those nice people, and it really helped me figure out something that I knew all along but I didn't know why. Now, what I could have done is I could be the kind of person who says, well, you know, I don't believe in psychics, and I don't believe that other people can read my energy, and I don't believe that I lived a past life, and I don't believe blah, 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 blah. I could have done all of that, and I still could have been going around insanely angry about what Christianity's done to Jesus, and never really knowing why. Now, it wouldn't have changed the fact that I act out about it. I try to do that privately. You know, but I would have still been doing it. Now, I don't have to act out about it. Because now I really got, oh my God, I thought this since I was a little kid. This is one of my missions on the planet. and is to sort of straighten some of that out wherever I can, whenever I can. And but you have to be open to everything that's coming your way, willing to listen to everything and determining what it means to you. If that would have been said to Becky, she would have went, Roger's crazy. No? I mean, yeah. But I'm just saying, because it wouldn't have meant anything to her. But the world is constantly saying the perfect you, the perfect you, the perfect experience, everything you've ever wanted to know, and we're going, yes, but not that because no, they told me that wasn't good, and not that because no, those people believe that. No, stop all that. In every moment, go, oh that, let me look at that, let me embrace that, let me see how that feels. And so we have to check it out for ourselves, our own gut emotions, our own, does that inspire love in me or fear in me, whatever that is. So for the last 2 weeks, we have been looking at some of the principles that are going to be in this 8-week class. And so I've been sort of being the devil's advocate for all of them. And saying, there's another piece of this that I would like us to look at and just think about for ourselves. And so what we've looked at so far is we've looked at self-defeating promises that we make to other people. We have looked at an energy exchange that means 100% out and 100% back in. And if you only are doing less, if you're doing less than that, then you're having less than that life. Life isn't coming back to you. And today we're looking at truth. I love, this is the way the dictionary defines truth. That which is considered to be the supreme reality, to have the ultimate meaning and value of our existence. And right here is where I say, don't be concerned. I'm not going to tell you what that is because I have no idea. You have to decide that for yourself. What I want us to do, though, is I want us to look at what we think we know. That's all I ever want us to do. Actually, if you get really good at that, don't come anymore unless you like the music. I will never be saying anything different. I'll just be saying it in a different way. But let's start looking at the things we think we know, and I want you to just start looking at them differently, being willing to be open to something else. Now, I'm really hot. Is anybody hot?
Yeah.
Ron, can you go turn it?
Brett just did.
It's as low as it goes?
It's not even, yeah.
Should we turn the fans? Is it running?
Yeah, it's right.
Okay. Turn the fans up just one more notch.
Add to your list a new building with good air.
I know. So, I believe that a good deal of our desire to find out and know spiritual things has been motivated out of fear. Not the kind of fear that you might think. Not that we grew up and we needed to be afraid of the devil or afraid of hell or any of that. I mean just motivated out of fear, just naturally. Naturally, we're seeking more, to know something more, to be able to do it better, to make sure that there's somebody on our side when we need them, to make sure our prayer life is all built up so that when we have a disaster, we can't fall. It's most of it out of fear. And I think that has been the biggest obstacle to finding the truth and to living free that we will ever encounter in our lives. Because think about this. Sometimes we have found a truth we have hung on to so tightly that we've just been swimming in that particular set of truths for a really long time, not getting that we're still at the shallow end. Not getting that, let that go just slightly, just release your hands off of it a little bit. Let's move on down here to the deep end, where we really start to discover some great truths. And about ourselves, not about something else. Because, look at it this way. Ron, thank you for the gift, entitled my talk today, Everyone Deserves Abundance. I put that in the thing that I wrote, but he picked it out as the title. And I thought, oh my goodness, everybody's going to be thinking that we're going to talk about how y'all deserve something you don't have. And that you should have it anyway. That's what we would like to hear. That's why I think the freedom has been robbed from us, because we are so stuck on this stuff. And if it's true, if that's a spiritual principle that is true, think of how sad it is that probably 75 or 80% of the world hasn't had or never has had that abundance throughout time. Either that, or it's not true. Either that, or we've misdefined abundance. One way or another, something about this statement doesn't hold water. That we all deserve something that none of us hardly have. Or very few of us on the planet. I'm not saying in this room, I'm thinking, we're Westerners, we're pretty abundant. But does that make us special? I mean, how did we get it and they didn't? God doesn't love them as much. What does all that mean? What do we say stuff like this for? So I want us to just really think about, does anyone really deserve anything? Does anyone deserve anything? Or are we here having an experience and we deserve what it is that we've decided we deserve, and that's part of our experience? It's not a God thing at all. We're here, you can have everything you want, but do you deserve it? It doesn't say in the Bible we deserve it. And any really great guru worth his salt didn't say we deserve it either. What they said is, you can have it. You can have it when you do certain things. Deserve it? There we go. Back to that. What a failure, dismal failure the universe and life has been for most people on this planet in the deserving factor. Now, we've said those kinds of affirmations and statements through life because we've believed in some way that the power of words is really powerful, and the powerful words are really powerful, but not necessarily those kinds of words. The power of spoken word is very powerful in the moment it's spoken in the correct circumstance. So, the most powerful word in the universe, it's one word, 3 letters. What is it? Yes. Yes is the most powerful word in the universe. The word yes contains within it all of the abundance of the universe. Far more than any amount of money you could ever have, far more than any amount of natural resources you could have, far more than any brain cells you could have. The word yes is the most powerful word in the universe. I know, some of you say, no, it's God, no, it's... Yes, historically those words have a lot of power around them. But when I'm talking about your life today, moving it into a place you want to be, it is the single most powerful change you can make in your life is to start saying yes. And it sounds really simple, and you go, well, if it's just that, well, okay. So you travel to India, and you buy all the right clothes, and you find the right ashram, and you sit down in front of the right guru, and you spent $5,000, and he says to you, my dear child, to reach enlightenment, you just must say yes. And you know what us Americans would do? Yeah, okay, I'll say yes more often, but just tell me what else I need to know. And so, in their defense, I'm sure they babbled on. All kinds of things that make us happy. And no one mentioned something so simple, maybe, because everything we know now came from somebody else who knew something else a long time ago. So the Old Testament was written on stuff that Jewish people already believed. The Hebrews, Israelites, they already believed. The New Testament was written on the foundation of that information. Now, what somebody else believes, what Jesus was taught. And then, New Thought took that, and they interpreted it in a different way, and then they called it something else. So, it's possible that every one of those thoughts is kind of like, we're getting there. I don't know, how many stairways are there? How long is the stairway to heaven? But it's possible. Okay, we know a little more now. We know a little more. We can look at it a little differently. Oh, yes, it might mean something different than that. So I'll say that each one of those things took us a step up towards the light. But so did yoga. So did meditation. So does music. So does prayer. Lots of things take us a step up toward the light. But they all came from someplace else. They all came as a step up off of something else. So at this point in time, we could have just had a little pamphlet written We didn't need the whole Bible, and we didn't need the whole Gita, and we didn't need the whole Quran. We had this little pamphlet called "There Is No Secret." Live fully in the present. Give it all away. Create what makes you happy, and say yes more often. Oh, P.S. Everything is on your side and for your good, and there's no need to worship anything unless it makes you happy. Now, the Bible and the Quran and the Gita and all of those spiritually wise pieces of things that are out there are telling us a story of someone else's interpretation of a truth that they lived or heard about. Sometimes they only heard about it. And they are magnificent stories because we relate them to us. We can see ourselves in them. We can see our circumstances in them. We can see things we know in them. And then when we take that in, there can be a self-revealing truth about us and our lives. This idea about saying yes. There was a man who, I read this on the internet, a man who had been spending much of his time living in fear. And he was looking for something greater in his life, and he found a book on improvisational theater. And this is what he found in that book. It says, once you learn to accept what life offers, so once you say yes to what life offers, then accidents can no longer happen to interrupt your action. Because you already agreed, I'm part of this. No accidents. This attitude makes for something really amazing. The person who will accept anything that happens seems supernatural. It's the most marvelous thing about life. You are suddenly in contact with people who are unbounded, whose imagination seems to function without limit. He goes on to say, people with dull lives often think that their lives are dull by chance. In reality, everyone chooses more or less what kind of events will happen to them by their conscious patterns of blocking and yielding, by saying yes and by saying no. What has this got to do with truth? It has everything to do with truth. It has everything to do with truth, because until you say yes and you live an experience, you have no idea if what you've been told is the truth or not. You're just simply parroting what someone else told you. There is no way to find out the truth without living it. Otherwise, rant, 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 rant. Some people spin in circles and find the truth. Some people hold their breath in a pose and find the truth. Some people meditate. Some people do. There's all kinds of things because they make it mean what it means to them. Only our experiences can lead us to the truth. Do you know why it's so easy what we see in the world going on right now with like all these leaders and politicians and news people and everybody just telling us whatever they want? Because we have said no to finding out the truth for ourselves so long that they can do whatever they want. Now, it's nobody's fault but our own. If we're not saying, is that really true? Let me do some more investigating. And with our spiritual things we've been told, we want them so badly, we run right up to them and they go, yes, they're mine, and I don't have any idea if they're true, but all my friends are doing it, and they said so. Without ever really just saying, I don't know, I tried that for a really long time, it didn't work for me. Good, go find something else, because you know what's happening when something doesn't work for you? I don't know, this has happened to me. Obviously, if you've been with me a long time, you know for sure this has happened to me. I believed something for a really long time. And when it stopped working for me, I was so devastated that it didn't work anymore. I couldn't believe it. I kept trying anyway. And then one day I figured out that well, that doesn't work for me anymore. Obviously something else is trying to get through. And that's when I realized, when it doesn't work for you anymore, yahoo! There's something, you're getting ready to step up the ladder. Something else is out there for you. You're going towards the deep end at that point. But let it go. Because if you don't let it go, you can't get there. I was, one of those people who was like laying on the stairway. No. it's this, I know this works, I can't let it go. Honestly, for years, until I just got courageous enough to say, I can't stand up there and tell those people that stuff anymore, because I don't believe it. And I have never stood here and told you anything I don't believe, or anything I haven't experienced for myself, with one exception. When it has been a very popular idea, and a lot of people that I know in my world have used that principle to have their life produce a good result for them, I might have told you about it. But I don't do that so much anymore either. But occasionally I will, because occasionally I really think, well, it doesn't work for me, maybe that's just my stuff. Everybody else seems to work for. We can only talk based on our own experiences. And we can spout off a lot of stuff. We have a whole volume, encyclopedia volume in here amongst us of spouting off intelligent spiritual cliches. Anyone can. Anyone can. And anyone can sell them to you if you are hopeless or afraid enough. That doesn't mean they're true. I want us to do something different. I want us to commit to, and this takes some sorting out, because if you've heard it long enough, you already think that it has happened to you. So if you've heard it long, somebody just mentioned Zeitgeist today, to me. And if you haven't seen Zeitgeist, you gotta see it. And the reason you gotta see it is because you realize that if you heard something long enough, you automatically assume it's the truth. And so there are things, I just want you to evaluate them. Don't go around telling the world a bunch of stuff that you haven't experienced, because it could not be true. No matter where you heard it, no matter where it came from, there's only one truth to be known. It's right here. Was it true for me? Yes, it happened to me. I can tell you that that happened to me. Now, whoever's listening, don't go half-cocked off thinking that because it happened to them, it'll happen to you. Because you're not them. You don't have all the same stuff in your life and motivations and all of the kind of different things. What we talked about before, you haven't had all the same interruptions. And so you may not be at all in the place to have that happen to you that way. So what kind of truth can we look at and can we talk about? It's just only the truth that we know. So that we're not confused, I want to tell you just another really short story about something that I thought was the truth. So, for about the past year, I've been working on this blog. No, you haven't seen it. And I have created a character, and I have the domain name. I have the character. I paid an artist to create the character for me. I have written it once. Lots of stuff behind the scenes, ready to launch this blog. And so, if you were to ask me, well, why haven't I done it yet? I would tell you because, I had to work at Yellow Umbrella, and I had to work here, and then life has been really busy, and we've been trying to find a new house, and now we're getting ready to move. There's that. So if you're like a sappy person, you'll fall for that. Look at all that pressure she's living under. But straightforward and simple. That is an excuse.
Yes.
That blog isn't out because I haven't sat down and done it. Now there's the truth. So, when you're telling yourself about your life and the little stories about your life and all the little whiny things you have going on, remember to finally filter that all down and go, okay, what's the real truth? Well, the real truth is I just didn't do it. Please get to those places. Filter down everything anybody tells you to those places. What is the real truth? The real truth is that's our experience. That's nice. I don't have to buy it. So, I have this book called Keep Our Promises by Stephanie Moyer Singh. And she says this in it. Once we tell the truth, we know what to do. Actions based on the truth on the facts are real. Do we have that overhead? The real overhead? Actions based on truth are real. Relevant, effective, authentic, and life-giving. That's what real means. So when we tell the truth, then we know how to take this kind of action. Now we're talking about a spiritual journey. Now we're getting really spiritual because we're going to have the experience. Somebody else isn't going to tell us. We find a truth. And this truth says now, I love this. I love this acronym stuff. Relevant action are actions that are appropriate to the situation at hand. How do you be the best spiritual being you can be in the situation at hand? Not in the one that you think about how you're gonna be someday, but the one you're in this moment. Effective actions are actions that produce a desired result. Now we're being spirituality in the world with some consciousness. So, effective actions. What can I do in this moment that can actually make something different happen? Something good happen? Authentic actions. These are the ones that only you can do. Because only you are you. So, everybody else rubs people's back this way. I rub it this way. Whatever it is. Whatever it is, do it your way. Not the way someone said that it should be done. Not the way that you've thought all your life you had to. Do you know how frozen? You guys see me up here talking. You think that, you might think that, I'm just pretty okay with this. That doesn't account for the frozen thoughts that are in my mind a good deal of the time about what I am not capable of doing. About how smart I am not, about what is really going on inside of me. So I just want you to know that those things, when we don't do them our way, and mostly that's why I have those frozen thoughts is because I look out there and I see what other people have done, or I see the way that they have done it, and then I'm like, well, I can't do it like that. Rather than just doing it how I would do it. Because how I would do it is exactly how God said for me to do it. But I get stuck in that evaluating how other people have done it better, and I'll never match up to that, and blah, blah. So, authentic action is your action, the way you would do it, with the gifts that you have. And life-giving actions. Support living fully and moving forward. That's what life-giving actions are. They support us moving forward and living fully, and they support the people around us moving forward and living fully. And there's one of the ways we know whether this was a good idea or bad idea. We didn't, if everybody else is being damaged by our good idea, maybe not such a good idea. And so how do we know if we've picked these things? How do we know? One of the ways we know is we just can be lovingly detached from the outcome. How often are you lovingly detached from the outcome of what you do? I know, it's what we want to do, but I don't know how it's the truth. How often? How often you just want to just do one more thing? I just wanted to help somebody and it didn't happen, I'm just going to do one more thing. Well, then just do one more thing. Well, then just maybe one more thing. Lovingly detached, when you have taken this real action based on the truth, you can do this. And lastly, I want us to remember something that Pema Children said, a Buddhist monk. She said, this is so important. Remembering that the only truth we have is the one we've lived, period. The only truth we have is the one we've lived. And she says this, we can drop the fundamental hope that there is a better me who will one day emerge. Because we can't jump over ourselves as if we are not there. When we aspire to the truths that we are taught but have not lived, we are simply trying to jump over ourselves as if we were not there. So what do we deserve? We deserve to be exactly who we are right now. We deserve the experience that we're having right this minute. And when we tell the truth more often, one of the things that's going to happen in our lives is we are going to become more grateful, freely grateful, easily grateful, simply grateful. Because freedom and gratitude are sort of almost the same thing. You don't have one without the other. You can say you do, but you don't. You can pretend you're grateful, but you're not. Only when you're free are you truly grateful. Not when you are still tethered to something that isn't you. Now, one little practice fast because it's happening, and I know we're going over just a little bit. We're looking out into a world right now, there's a lot of stuff going on. How do we look at that and say we're grateful? I want us to think about Japan, particularly, because every day we look at it and go, oh my God, those poor people, those poor people. That part's true. And I don't want us to escape that. What I want to do is, so that we can do this for ourselves. Everything we do so that we can do it for ourselves. We can do it better. So I want you to look out there, and I want you to see the devastation that's going on out there, and I want you to find a list of things in that to be grateful for. All the people who didn't die. All the towns that weren't swept away. All of how bad that nuclear waste looks, that it's not worse than that. Find a list of things to be grateful for. That doesn't deny anything that's happening. When you deny what's happening in the world, you deny your own life, your own feelings, your own human experience, and your own well-being and ongoing. Shut off emotionally and say, oh, God's taking care of it. Oh, really? God's doing a really bad job. That isn't how we do it. That's life. God is everywhere. But when we are willing to say, that hurts, that's painful, that makes me sad, then we get to feel our own lives. We get to have our own human experience, and we get to be in it. And then we get to sit down and make our own gratitude list that day about what is good still in our life and what isn't. Because what isn't is true. And when you write off other people, you write off yourself. You cannot do that and have a full experience of living life. It includes the sad feelings and the happy feelings. Nobody ever said, oh, God's going to give you this whole array of feelings, but this half, don't have them. Do everything you can to keep from having them. That's not life. Cry. Sit in front of your TV and cry. Scream, whatever. And then take out your book and write a list of things you're grateful for anyway. About it. So, Melody Beatty says, gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. It turns what we have into enough and more. It turns denial into acceptance, chaos into order, confusion into clarity. It turns a meal into a feast, a house into a home, a stranger into a friend. Gratitude makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow. So what I want you to remember today is this. To say thank you in some way for everything that's happening in your world and in the world. Find the parts to be grateful for. And don't forget to ask every time, who said so? Who said so? Not until it's my experience and not until I know it's the truth do I plan on repeating it, putting it on other people, or telling them how it should be. Because who said so?